Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are live once more with what I can only call insane news, huge breaking news from Congress, from the MAGA movement, or former MAGA movement, more recently, I guess. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman from Georgia, Georgia's 14th congressional district, just announced her resignation from Congress. Wow. I was in the middle of editing another Mamdani video, right? Another Zoran Mamdani Trump video. And this news comes out of nowhere. Lou Valentino's in the chat. I wish I could send you the link, Lou, but let me try here. See if we can get Lou Valentino on to give us his genius opinions. I don't know if this is going to work, Lou. I'm using OBS. It's not the same StreamYard setup. Dang it, I should have used StreamYard. But yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman, is resigning from Congress. And it's a very, very important piece of news. She released a very long video announcing that resignation. Before we watch it and kind of understand her rationale, I would say this is a pretty bad time. So her resignation is effective January something. So in January, she will officially be out of Congress. But it's a pretty bad time because Republicans need every vote we can get in the House. And yeah, there will be enough time to get a special election going. But until then, it's a vacancy that needs to be filled within the period of when she resigns and when that vacancy gets filled. So, or it could be a faster process in Georgia. I know in Florida you need a special election and you need to do that and that. I don't know if they just do appointments. Actually, we're going to search. Forgive me for using, let's use Grok. Yeah, how about this? Let's use Grok because I don't actually know this and it's a little embarrassing that I don't know this. But we need to talk to Grok. Hey Grok, I hope you're doing well. Actually, I don't. Could care less about you. But if a congresswoman resigns in Georgia before her term ends, does the governor have the ability to replace her? What happens to that vacancy? Or is it just a special election?
Oof, straight to the point. I like it. Nah, the governor can't just swap in a replacement for a U.S. House seat. That's Senate territory.
Okay.
The Congresswoman.
So that's kind of what I figured. Yep. So this is now a vacancy that Republicans have to deal with. Republicans now have less of a congresswoman, one less Congress member in there. And so that's why I say it's a really bad time. But let's look at that video now. It's a 10-minute video from MTG. Let's try to understand why she's doing this.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial.
Well, Marjorie, you did fit in at some point. I don't want to pause this too much, but I just have to say this. The reason she doesn't fit in anywhere is because in 2023, when Matt Gaetz and other patriots from the House Freedom Caucus stood against Kevin McCarthy's speakership, she was the sole Trump-aligned congresswoman or man that supported Kevin McCarthy. She stood by Kevin McCarthy when everyone else wanted him gone. Kevin McCarthy is the scum of the scum. He is what you would call a Republican establishment creature. And Marjorie Taylor Greene essentially made a deal with him to allow her back on committees because, remember, she got her committee assignments revoked because they said she was like a Q person and she was a conspiracy theorist and she aligned with Nazis or whatever. So they got her kicked off of many committees. And really at that time it was because she was a huge supporter of President Trump in the House. So they just kicked her out of committees. It was unfair, but she went and made a deal with Kevin McCarthy to get her committee seats back. So, and in return, she would support his speakership bid. That's why she has no allies, because McCarthy is now gone and she's isolated because here comes Mike Johnson, who's not aligned with her, and President Trump is now going against her. And So there's really no faction, not ultra MAGA right, not middle MAGA, moderate MAGA, mainstream MAGA that aligns with her. She's kind of in the middle, and she's not a libertarian like Massey. So she's just nowhere. But we'll play the rest of this uninterrupted.
Complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest, and the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster, but instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit, they all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and no food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up, they have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house, they have been laid off after being forced to train their visa-holding replacement, the college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary, they see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets, they can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard-left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election. And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us. Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt-for-life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
There we go. That was a long one. Had to speed it up at certain portions. Marjorie Taylor Greene, there resigning from Congress officially. Yeah, she kind of revealed why she's resigning at the end there. She said she does not want to endure and want her district to endure what will be an intense primary with lots of money being spent. And then she says if she does win, Republicans are likely to lose the midterms and Democrats are going to get the House and go back to impeaching President Trump. And she doesn't want to be, on the forefront of defending him. So she's effectively saying, I don't want to be part of the party. I don't want to help. I'm resigning. And January 5th is a very bad date because now Republicans are going to have one less seat in the House. What are my thoughts on this? I read some of the comments in the chat. Marjorie. The thing with MTG that I can never truly hate about her is she's legitimately right when she said she fought for Trump at some point. I remember in 2021 when Republicans abandoned the election integrity cause in Congress and allowed President Trump to be defrauded and the American people to be defrauded after November 3rd. Marjorie Taylor Greene and very few congressmen and women were holding that line. Remember, she got elected in 2020 and she took office shortly after. And ever since then, up until recently, she has been a vocal advocate of the president. But with MTG losing her committee seats and making a deal with Kevin McCarthy, she effectively joined the establishment. I remember tweeting about this extensively when Matt Gaetz and many other patriots in the House fought against McCarthy's speakership because McCarthy was a swamp creature. Marjorie Taylor Greene was the sole MAGA person, quote unquote, defending him. She was all over his case, making sure he maintained his speakership, and then McCarthy eventually got kicked out by Gaetz, forced to resign, and then Mike Johnson took over, and MTG just has not been on any team since then. She has no coalition, no alliance, and her only final alliance was still her relationship and friendship with President Trump. So even after her and Mike Johnson were not seeing eye to eye at any point, she was still very close to President Trump. They were on a texting basis, so they texted each other and called each other and whatnot. She revealed texts recently, so that proves they were very close in terms of consistently communicating, because they both got attacked viciously by the mainstream media, MTG and Trump, for similar reasons. But in the last few months, Marjorie Taylor Greene has become the John Fetterman of the Republican Party. What do I mean by that? Well, John Fetterman, we like to see it, right? We like to see when he goes on CNN, MSDNC, and trash on the Democrats. We love to see it. He's dunking on the Democrats. That's awesome. But MTG is doing that from the right. So she's going out and criticizing her own party from the right. The same way Democrats rigorously hate John Fetterman, and they're making fun of him more now than we ever did. Remember when I used to call him Feather Neck because of the whole neck lump? Now I love him because he's reasonable now. But there was a point where he was doing that for the Democrats, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is now doing that for the Republicans. She is going on The View and talking about the inadequacies of the administration. She's criticizing House Republicans for not coming up with healthcare solutions. If Marjorie Taylor Greene had maintained her independent streak in the House of Representatives after getting elected and never made a deal with Kevin McCarthy, and she was just still sincerely pursuing these things and criticizing her own party, I wouldn't have much of a problem with it. But the problem with Marjorie Taylor Greene is it seems like she likes to pick a side. She likes to kind of go where the wind is, right? And now the wind has kind of opposed her. She tried to have her cake and eat it. She tried to be a voice of dissent within the Republican Party and still have the support of the president. And that didn't work, unfortunately for her. It didn't work. It alienated her with her own base, her own voters. And honestly, a lot of the polls have shown this. She would have probably won her primary, right? People don't really want to believe that, but a lot of money would have been spent. But ultimately, I think she would have probably taken it because she's way too popular and she has way too much support in that 14th district. Chairs from different Republican parties and units and coalitions were coming out in support of her after her beef with President Trump. Trump holds a lot of sway. But in red hot seats like that, unless someone is such a rhino, because MTG is not like a Don Bacon where, Don Bacon would just vote with the Democrats on everything and then claim to be a Republican. She's more of a like a hurdle for the administration. It's not like they have to campaign and try to get her vote. She'll vote with Trump 95% of the times, maybe 99%. I think the only issue they don't vote together on is foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, and whatnot, and the Epstein files. But even then, it's like not even 1% of all the voting that goes on in Congress. So MTG really does vote with Trump on a multitude of issues. But the problem with her is she's right. The administration is in a vulnerable spot, and Republicans could lose the midterms. So it's bad for her to be going on The View and CNN to go campaign essentially against the administration. And that's the problem, MTG. That's why you have no coalition around you. I'm not going to, join in and say, oh, good riddance. I'm not that kind of person. I think she has been somebody that contributed a lot. I will never forget the fact that she was one of the few to stand up after the 2020 election. When Trump was getting impeached, she was one of the few to fight against that impeachment. Her voice was essential. She kind of like helped Trump by absorbing some of the attacks. That's kind of what it is. Like she has absorbed like some of the attacks against him. Her, Lauren Boebert, who's less talkative now. She's a little quiet, Lauren Boebert. But there was a point where Trump was getting attacked from all angles. Now it's a lot cooler, right? The media doesn't really do all that as much as they used to. Like they would blatantly just lie about everything Trump said. Like they take a clip where he said like part of the N-word and then they'll take a different clip and then make it sound like he said the N-word in public. And so that was the level of attack Trump was under. But, she absorbed some of those attacks and I commend her. I wish her the best. But I do totally understand why the administration feels she is antagonistic and they want her gone. Totally understood. Same reason why they are after Massey. Massey is consistently undermining the team, right? You can't undermine the team and then get confused why they want you gone. The running back can't be running the other way in football. And then the coach takes him out and he's like, Coach, why are you taking me out? It's because you're not running that A gap, okay? You're not running the A gap correctly. So it is just one of those things. It's politics. It's a vicious, vicious world. And MTG got a taste of it. She did sound like she was going to run for something else. That sounded like a campaign speech. I don't know what she plans to run on, but it's going to be interesting to see. I know a lot of you guys just don't like MTG, and that's okay. That's okay. I won't say I like her in terms of what I appreciate in a politician. She's not pragmatic like I appreciate. She's not very charismatic. She's like a firebrand. That was her whole rise to politics. She became this person that was like, MAGA, Trump, like she was synonymous with Trump at some point. So I'm not going to hate her, but she is somebody that has done some good. And she's better than Lindsey Graham. She's better than Mitch McConnell, right? Like we have to kind of separate her from that rank because I feel like people now think she's like someone who would vote to impeach Trump. It's just not how that is. Her disposition is someone who wants to be independent, but also wants to have the support of the administration she can criticize. And that's just not how politics works. She did release a statement. I think it was just a text version of what she said. But yeah, I think there was a part in there that I thought was worth looking at. Through it all, I never changed, never went back on my campaign promises, blah, blah, blah. That as well. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interest because our job title is literally representative. That part I have to talk about, right? If you are representing your district, you should probably retire, not resign. There's a difference. because now her district doesn't have a vote in Congress for a few months until a special election can be called by the Georgia representatives, by the Georgia officials, Brian Kemp and the legislature, until they can organize a local election in her district to get someone in. She has effectively deprived her district of a vote in Congress. And I think Marjorie should have retired, not resigned, because it would have meant she wouldn't be running in the Republican primary, but she still can give her vote when Republicans need it. I think that would have been the right thing to do. But, to flat out just go away is ridiculous. And she kind of explained it. She wants to, it's kind of like sabotage a little bit, because she said, what did she say? She said something about, oh, like, Republicans are going to lose the midterms, and I'm not going to want to be going up there to go defend Trump when he gets impeached by Democrats. That's kind of like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's kind of what she said. But if she was like truly representing her district, she should have probably stayed in that and retired as opposed to resigning immediately. She's going to try for the Senate, someone says. I think that's going to be interesting. She probably doesn't have the coalition to run for the Senate. She has been angling for a bigger run. I don't know what, she can't win the presidency, not in the next 4 years or 8 years with Vance at the forefront. He's going to be the heir apparent, or he's apparently the heir, right? So she certainly can't just believe she's going to win a national election. Georgia's a very complicated state in terms of statewide races, so it's going to be a very tough position for her. And if she's unaligned with the president who won Georgia, it's going to be pretty hard to get the primary voters to go with her. So she's in a little bit of a weird position. But I want us all to just appreciate the good she did and forget the bad she did. She's out of Congress now. And that's it. I just think it's a horrible timing for the Republicans. We just don't have like a 250 majority. We have a very tight majority. We can't afford to be losing members. People are talking about her insider trading. Someone said she walked into Congress worth $700,000 and came out worth $20 million. That's just not how that works. Marjorie Taylor Greene has a company that is worth like, $40 million. She's always been a millionaire. And I don't think she's like insider trading like, someone like Nancy Pelosi does. I think she's just trading. I see the same thing with Byron Donalds. People say Byron Donalds insider trades, and that's just not true. Byron Donalds has a trading firm where he doesn't give them advice on what to buy, and they buy for his portfolio, and they buy a lot of volume because that's what trading companies do. It's a wealth management company. So it's similar with MTG. People make it seem like if Don Jr. was trading stocks, it's because he's rich, and so is MTG. I didn't actually know that until a year ago. I didn't know MTG was like a multi-millionaire before leaving or coming into Congress in 2020. But yeah, she spent a lot of her money on her campaign, hence why this nobody in politics in Georgia won a congressional seat. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I think it is disingenuous to attack her using that line, because it's something the left says about Trump. Oh, he's using his office to enrich himself. No, he was already rich. Like how they say, oh, Trump's kids are doing business in Saudi Arabia. Conflict of interest. No, it's because the Trump organization has been doing business everywhere for a long time. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been a millionaire for a long time. So, yeah, I think, yes, she timed her resignation to hurt the administration and the country. I think so. I think I don't like the timing. It's if you're going to resign, you should retire. It's not like for a health reason. I thought it was going to be like, like I'm depressed or something, or yeah. So look, she is who she is, and that era of politics is over. The future of the America First MAGA movement is going to be interesting. We need someone who takes us further. Like Trump has taken us from the media with all the power and control to the media has been completely destroyed to the point where they have to ask him nice questions now. Trump has destroyed the mainstream media. He has exposed every piece of corruption in the government. He has restructured global trade in favor of the U.S. Our trade deals now look pretty and beautiful for us. Countries are lessening their barriers on American products. He has restructured how foreign policy functions. We are no longer entangled in every conflict, but we are involved in using our leverage to stop conflicts. Trump has thoroughly helped the world with his presence in the last 10 years in politics. But now that heir to Trump has to take it further, right? So the questions are going to start to arise about what the MAGA movement is going to turn into. What is it going to? I mean, she was mentioning it there. She said America First should mean America First and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America First in our halls of Congress, or halls of government. She's kind of hinting at this internal question about where the Trump movement will end. It doesn't end with Trump, certainly not. When Thomas Jefferson served 8 years at the White House, the Jeffersonian Republican movement didn't end then, because James Madison, as Secretary of State, became president for 8 years. And then after him, another Jeffersonian Republican, James Monroe, became president, so much so that the Federalists ceased to exist at the point when John Quincy Adams ran for office. He had to run essentially as a different sort of Jeffersonian Republican, and kind of like a mix between his Federalist father and Jefferson's, love of freedom and democracy and emancipation and all these things. But what the MAGA movement should turn into is something that exceeds the Trump years, right? We need a 16-year period following Trump where the presidents in the White House were influenced by Trump, and take it a step further. Deport more. Because Trump isn't going to deport all the people that came in here under the Biden regime. So who's going to come after Trump? So MTG was just kind of bringing those points up. And I guess she wasn't really bringing it up, but I'm bringing it up. I'm the one bringing it up. So, I mean, we'll see. George needs to do some research. Business, 15 golf courses that have lost $315 million over the past 20 years. Yeah, okay. We got a liberal in the chat. If you don't think Donald Trump is a successful businessman, then I think there's something wrong with your brain. Oh, but he filed for bankruptcy. Yeah, like everyone does. Every rich person has filed for bankruptcy because it's a tool to be used to get away from debt and liabilities and start afresh, start anew. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, when you tell me Trump isn't a good businessman, and then you're going to have to explain to me how he's a billionaire. Oh, his dad gave millions. Yeah, but how did he turn it into billions? How did he have a global brand? How does he have his name on like towers all over the world? Are you behind? Is your brain lacking brain cells, critical, much needed brain cells? How dare you look at a man's success, not appreciate it, not try to learn from it, but just say, it's not real. He's not really rich because he did anything for himself. He added any value to society. He built anything. He's rich just because he got lucky. Really? Okay, lottery winners get a lot of money in their bank accounts. You know where that money goes after 10 years? Nowhere. They're broke again because it's not about money. It's about your ability with it. And Trump clearly had the ability to turn millions into billions. And that's a skill set. That makes him a great businessman. And his children are an example of why he's so great as a man. Because Eric Trump and Don Jr., they're taking in their father's footsteps. Eric Trump is building crypto companies. And people are like, no, why are you building crypto companies? He's building crypto companies anyways. Don Jr. is hunting. I don't know. He's just hunting, I guess. But it's ridiculous. I don't know why you leftists think like this. Like, why? I don't care if you hate Trump, but you have to acknowledge immutable truths. He's rich because he's a businessman. He didn't get lucky. But anyways, it's ridiculous. We'll see what happens. I want to know what your thoughts are in the comments or in the live chat. Why you think MTG is resigning right now. Yes, the pressure from the president has been immense. He's been calling her Marjorie Taylor Brown because she said something like she's rotten and it turns green, you know. But it was like, yeah, that was, look, Trump can be a vicious campaigner, and clearly he doesn't think she's a benefit to whatever he's trying to achieve. And MTG says, no, I'm a benefit. No, I helped you. No, I supported you. And Trump's like, but I don't agree. That's where we're at. So it's politics. Politics is vicious. And yes, Trump was going to be spending millions of dollars in her district, and that meant Marjorie would have had to raise millions or spend millions of her own. And it's just a question of whether she was willing to do that. Can we not use the word traitor? I don't like that word, because traitor is what Democrats do when they make videos telling the military to ignore the orders of the president. Okay? If you say betrayer, I think that's fine. But traitor is like, it's a serious crime, right? Treason. Someone who betrays their country. MTG just has a disagreement with Trump. Otherwise, they vote 99% on the same issues. So I don't like the word traitor. I think we have to grow past this kind of like intense politics. MTG and Trump are probably going to be friends in the future. Look at Elon and Trump. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, Elon, I hate you now. It's like, all right, well, look, they're kissing up again. They kissed and made up. This is what happens at the top level of life. People they can be vicious to each other, egos, all these things just clashing. But at the end of the day, if it came down to it, they're gonna sit down in the future and they're gonna laugh. And then we're getting caught up in the moment, like, oh my gosh, I gotta hate you now. No, I don't. I don't have to hate anybody. I don't have to like MTG. You know. See, you can love someone without liking them, right? A lot of you people, that is a crazy way of saying it. A lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. You people know what I'm talking about. You can love somebody, but you don't like them. You know, your liberal cousin, your liberal sister, brother, your liberal parents, your liberal relatives. You love them, but you don't always like them. That's kind of what it is right now between Trump and MTG. They'll call each other names, but guess what? When Trump steps out of office and they're both retired from politics, they're both rich. She's always been a millionaire with a huge construction company. Guess what? They're gonna meet someday and be like, haha, remember when I called you Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marjorie Taylor Brown? It's like, okay, you know, it's one of those things. You people, I know, I said that. It's like how black liberals talk about white people. You people, yeah, I did the thing. I did the thing. Let's see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button if you haven't. That's the news for you. I'm going to be posting another video on Zoran Mamdani. I know, you guys are getting to... Look, I got so many comments of people telling me, I didn't like that Trump was nice. Why did Trump invite him? And so that video kind of addresses why I think Trump is showing his perspicacity. Trump is a very magnanimous person. He's benevolent. He's nice. He shows charity to people that hate him. And that's a good trait. It makes him a great businessman and a unique statesman. Most politicians hate their opponents for real. But Trump is different. He'll call Chuck Sniffer, Schmuck Schumer, all kinds of names on his Truth Social, and they'll shake hands, and they'll say, all right, Chuck, I know you're stupid, but you're you, and I'm me. We're different. Like, that's how it works. That's how it works. But anyways, I'm going to make that video. God, I pray for America. Pray for its people. Strengthen the political bonds and the societal bonds, whatever keeps us together, God, just strengthen that, because this country is constantly on the edge of breaking apart, it feels like 24/7. And give everyone wisdom and discernment all the time. In Jesus' name, amen. Oh man, this kind of feels like when, well, maybe not, when Matt Gaetz could have been Attorney General. He could have been, why did he resign from Congress? Why not just stay in Congress until you get confirmed? But he resigned, and is the next Republican, look, as much as I know what MTG is now, like she has adjusted and moderated her politics and she's angling for something. But come on, like, what are we going to have after MTG? Like, we're going to have like Don Bacon of Nebraska. We're going to have, Anthony Gonzalez or whatever his name is, like Tony Gonzalez. We're going to have those people. Who are we going to have after these people, man? It's going to be really interesting. What is that next class of MAGA or congressman going to look? Because Matt Gaetz was like articulate, and he took down the swamp. He literally took down one of the biggest swamp creatures in the world, Kevin McCarthy. Who are we going to have now? Who are the firebrands? Lauren Boebert has had to dial it down because she's in a very vulnerable spot as a politician. She got caught with her boyfriend grabbing on her Nancy Pelosi's. And it's like she can't really talk now because people will bring that up. And she almost lost a very red part of Colorado, and she had to switch districts. And even then, she could still lose. So she's not able to be a firebrand because she doesn't have that electoral security. So who are those people for us? We need like Carrie Lake's. Oh, man. We need a Carrie Lake in Congress or in the Senate, as she should have been, but, shenanigans occurred again. We need those kind of people. So, yeah, I'm gonna miss the firebrandness of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was a firebrand. Not when she, pivoted, but I'm gonna miss that. Yeah. Oh, all right. Goodbye.